So we will discuss today the basic principles and management of malignant bone tumor. So how to approach? So key is to take the history first and then clinical examination, then how you can investigate and do the treatment. So this is the basic approach to the malignant bone tumor: history, clinical examination, investigation and treatment. So what things you will ask in history? The key is most of the bone tumor patients present with the pain, and that is activity related initially, but later on it becomes progressive and pain becomes severe at rest as well as at night. So this is how the bone tumor is present. While the soft tissue tumors usually present with the swelling, and that swelling initially becomes small, later on becomes larger in size. So key in the bone tumor presentation is the pain. And you will ask all the 10 questions related to the pain. Where is the pain? How do you feel the pain? Exact site, does it radiate? Progression, night pain. So everything you need to ask about the pain. And the second thing is the age. When we take the history, age is the most important clue to the diagnosis of the patient. Because most of the tumors are age related. Some of the tumors are common in first decade, some are common in second decade, some are common in third, some are common in fourth decade, and afterwards. So if you remember the age, you most likely able to solve the problem in your question. So first thing after when you get this patient history is the age, and it is the most important thing. So the tumors that occur in first and second decade of life are Ewing sarcoma and osteosarcoma. First and second decade tumors are Ewing sarcoma and osteosarcoma. So it's very simple. If a child present with a swelling around the knees in the first 10 years of age, so most likely diagnosis is Ewing. And second most likely is osteosarcoma. Third and fourth decade is lymphoma, and the tumor, if it is the mid shaft, so most likely is an adenocarcinoma. I'm just talking about the malignant, no benign tumor. And second thing we ask in the history is the sex. Giant cell tumors are more common in females. Adenocarcinoma are more common in females. After sex, we ask about the race. So Ewing sarcoma is rare in Africans. While the family history is also important, multiple hereditary exostosis or autosomal dominant. The family runs with these swellings. Neurofibromatosis, again is autosomal dominant, is one of the tumors that can run in the family. The second, after history, so in the history we ask about the key, age, sex, race, family history, and the presentation. Most likely presentation is the pain. So these are the 5 most important things that will guide you to the basic diagnosis of the tumor. So whenever you read the scenario, when you get your MCQ and you want to read the scenario, you just read the basics. If you read the scenario and you got the age in first, the tumor in the first decade is most likely Ewing's. And that Ewing's is most common in the diaphysis. So if the tumor is most common in the diaphysis in the first decade, is most likely Ewing sarcoma. In the first decade, if the tumor is in the epiphysis or metaphysis, most likely in the metaphysis, is most likely osteosarcoma. While in third and fourth decade, if the tumor is involved in the diaphysis, is maybe lymphoma. While adenocarcinoma is a common tumor that occurs in a female if the tumor is lying in the mid tibia. So this is very simple to remember. Second, giant cell tumor are more common in females, and adenocarcinoma are more common in females. So these are the tumors that run in the. So this is the key. How you will, what important things you will ask in the history, and that will guide you how to solve your question. Second thing you need to ask is examination. So what things you would like to examine? First of all, you like to examine the lump. So see, there was a huge lump present around the knee on the anteromedial, lateral, and entry aspect of the knee, with this patella is forwarding anteriorly. There is no dilated veins over the skin. There are the ill-defined margins of the whole the swelling. While need to examine the distal neurovascular, dorsal pedis posterior artery palpable, and you will examine the nerve as well by checking the movement of the foot. And surrounding of the swelling, you will ask about to look for the muscular wasting, calf wasting, quadriceps wasting, any muscle around the tumor you want to see this. So most of the tumors present with clinically with the lump and all these findings. So how will you investigate? Investigation including blood CP ESR to check for the hematological status of the patient, either patient become anemic or not. Urea creatinine electrolytes to see the normal status of the kidney, to check for the calcium phosphate alkaline phosphatase, to rule out there is no problem with parathyroid gland. Then alkaline phosphatase and acid phosphatase, they indicate the bone destruction. Increase in the levels of the alkaline phosphatase and acid phosphatase are indicative of bone destruction in osteosarcoma or sarcoma. And serum protein electrophoresis in case of multiple myeloma. You need to do the all investigation first, and later on the radiological investigation, and in the end biopsy. I will tell you why the biopsy in the end. So then after hematological investigation, you will do a radiological X-ray. X-ray full length AP and lateral view of the affected bone. Number 1. Then MRI with gadolinium enhanced contrast. Number 2. Number 3. CT scan chest. Number 4. Bone scan. Number 5. PET scan. And in the end biopsy. So everything every investigation has significant importance. X-ray just give you a clue of which type of lesion it is, and that will guide you to the basic diagnosis of the tumor. MRI with gadolinium contrast is because you want to see the extent of the tumor into the bone as well as into the soft tissue, and along with that you want to see the neurovascular status of that limb. Either that vessels and nerves are spared from the tumor or they are encased with that. CT scan chest to look for the bone mets in the chest. Bone scan to see the metastasis in the bone. And PET CT is recently everybody is doing, is positron emission tomography. This will basically PET CT is able to detect the smallest lesion less than 0.5 mm as well. And in the end, after doing all investigation, do the biopsy. So why the biopsy in the end? Reason is that if you do the biopsy before doing all investigation, you will miss some problems. Like say for example, you did the calcium phosphate alkaline phosphatase, and calcium is raised and PTH is low. It means patient is having problem with the hyperparathyroid. So you need to evaluate the parathyroid gland and find out either parathyroids are normal. So investigate in that line. And if you find some parathyroid adenoma that is causing bone destruction, so there's no need of doing biopsy. Number 1. Number 2, after all investigation, you want to find out the exact site that is easily accessible, that is easily acceptable to do the biopsy smoothly. Number 2. Number 3, after all investigation, you will get to rule out that somebody have no renal cell carcinoma. Because if you do the biopsy without investigation and they turn out to be renal cell, so that will bleed a lot and patient will die on the table. So don't biopsy renal cell carcinoma until you do the angioembolism first and do the rest of the biopsy in the end. So these are few reasons. That's why you need to do all investigation first and the biopsy in the end. After doing all these investigations, any question you want to ask, you can ask. Anything you want to ask, you can ask. So this is an X-ray. Whenever you see the X-ray, you need to say a few things that are very important. How to read an X-ray in a tumor. Yesterday was a class on a benign tumors. So same 5-6 things you need to revise. Number one, gold standard is basically biopsy that will give you exact diagnosis. I will repeat in the end. Is it okay now? I think everything is okay. So what you need to do, you need to revise the main points in an X-ray. So which bone it is? So this is a femur showing osteolytic lesion involving the epiphysiometaphyseal region of the left distal femur. Left distal femur. The tumor showing some septations visible inside the lesion. It's a wide zone of transition and it extends into the knee joint, posteriorly into the popliteal fossa, anteriorly into the patellofemoral joint, and it's of geographic pattern. So these are few points you want to see every in a single sentence. Which bone, which part of the bone, lytic lesion or blastic, any lesions visible inside the lesion, any lines or any significant changes inside the lesion. Does the tumor extend into the soft tissue and how it looks? What is zone of transition means? How it was extensive? Does you clearly identify how much extent it is? So see, it's clearly extend visible into the femur, but see, it's clearly visible in the soft tissue as well anteriorly. To confirm it further, we need to do MRI that will show the complete extent of the bone, tell the status of the popliteal vessels, that either they are encased with the tumor or not, either this patellofemoral joint is spared, either quadriceps is spared or not. So soft tissue extension and neurovascular structure will be mentioned in the MRI that I mentioned, the MRI gadolinium contrast. So once you get this, you need to do staging of the musculoskeletal tumor. So Anakin classification is simpler, used in musculoskeletal oncology. And we usually use everywhere in other carcinomas KNM classification. But in musculoskeletal tumors, Anakin classification is simpler to remember. Another classification is AJCC, American Joint Cancer Society classification. So that depend upon the size of this tumor. In Anakin classification, we have 3 types: extra-compartmental, low grade, extra-compartmental, high grade. So this is type 1, A and B. Type 1 is extra-compartmental, low grade is 1A, high grade is 1B. Type 2 is, type 1 is intra-compartmental, low grade and intra-compartmental. Type 1B is high grade intra-compartmental. Type 2 is extra-compartmental type 2A is extra compartmental low grade, while type 2B is extra compartmental high grade, and type 3 is metastasis. So I will show you how it looks, either this is intra-compartmental or extra-compartmental. And another classification is HSC. So type 1 and 1B, which we said is a low grade, is less than 8 centimeter, no metastasis, is HSCC 1. Type 2A, 2B is high grade, less than 8 centimeter, no metastasis. Type 3, any grade, any size, but patient having skip metastasis. So skip metastasis means somebody got the tumor in the bone. Somebody got tumor in the bone, but same patient is having lesion in the proximal femur as well. So same bone have 2 lesions. So the other lesion is called skip metastasis. And 4A is pulmonary metastasis and 4B is non-pulmonary metastasis. So anything classification doesn't mention this type. These all skip metastasis, pulmonary non-metastasis. They only mention type 3. Any metastasis is type 3. So again, I must repeat this anything. To understand, type 1 is low grade intracompartmental is type A, low grade extracompartmental type B or 1B. Type 2A is high grade intracompartmental, 2B is high grade extracompartmental, and type 3 is metastasis. So how will you decide the treatment on this classification? Basically, aim of this treatment is to do the limb salvage or amputation surgery. Marginal resection or wide margin resection we do in 1 and 2A. 2B, which is high grade extracompartmental, and 3. So this is debatable. Either you want to do limb salvage or you want to amputation. So marginal resection and wide margin resection is basically limb salvage surgery. So how to do it, I will show you. First, we again repeat this classification. So NA can classify the tumor surgery, and surgical resection is depend upon intralesional, marginal, wide marginal, radical. Intralesional means you need to cut this tumor half. Half you leave, half you remove. This is called intralesional. Marginal means when you take the tumor with the margin, is called marginal resection. Wide margin means when you able to take the tumor along with some part of the tissue, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter normal tissue. So this is called marginal. And radical means you need to remove the whole compartment, either whole compartment muscle or whole bone. Same lesion here, say far than the bone. The intralesional means just to curate. Half of the bone tumor remove, half lying inside the bone. Number 2, you want to do marginal. Marginal means with this lesion you want to resect the edge of the bone is marginal. Wide margin means 2 to 3 centimeters from normal bone along with the tumor removal is called wide margin. And radical means when you remove the whole bone. So how to proceed before doing surgery? So whenever you diagnose is confirmed, either it's osteosarcoma or Ewing sarcoma, the first thing is to do neoadjuvant chemotherapy. 3 to 4 cycles or doses of chemotherapy first, and chemotherapy that is given before the surgery is called neoadjuvant chemotherapy. After that, you will decide restage the tumor, either that patient is respond to the chemo or not. For that, you again do the CT scan chest to look for the metastasis, to see the MRI of that area, again see the response of the tumor, that this tumor decrease in size or not. And then you will do the surgery, either you want to do marginal, wide margin resection or amputation. Later on, you will do the adjuvant chemotherapy. So osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma are chemosensitive, while chondrosarcoma are resistant to chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So their surgical treatment is the only option for chondrosarcoma. So these are 3 main tumors, malignant bone tumors that we encounter. So these are chemotherapy drugs available for neoadjuvant or adjuvant chemotherapy. So once you resect the bone, you need to do the reconstruction with some method. Either you want to do biological method or you want to do non-biological method. So biological means you want to put the bone either autograft by taking some bone from other part of the body, you want to do allograft, like you need to preserve the bone into the bone bank and you reimplant it, or you want to do some other methods of putting bone. And non-biological means you want to put prosthesis. You do, say for example, you remove the distal femur and you bring the prosthesis and put into the distal femur. So that is non-biological. So biological are these methods: autograft, allograft, recycle bone, rotation plasty, Elizaro bone transport. These are methods of biological reconstruction, and non-biological reconstruction are process. So before going on every topic again, I just gonna repeat this. How to approach the malignant bone tumor. First is history, then clinical examination, then investigation and treatment. So most of the bone tumor patients present with pain that initially is activity related and that progressive with the rest and night. And age is the most important clue to the diagnosis, because most of the tumors in the first and second decades are Ewing's and osteosarcoma, and third and fourth decades are lymphoma and adenocarcinoma if they are the tumor in the mid shaft of the tibia. In females, giant cell tumor and adenocarcinoma are more common, while Ewing's sarcoma is less common in Africa. While there is a significant family history of multiple hereditary exostosis and arthros in patients along with neurofibromatosis. Is it okay now? So then you need to do the clinical examination of the lump, and after that you want to do the investigation. And after all these investigations, you will read the X-ray, do the MRI, say CT test, then NAC classification, then HSCC classification, and then the treatment. And resection depends upon intralesional, marginal, wide marginal, radical resection. So you need to do neoadjuvant and adjuvant chemotherapy in Ewing's and osteosarcoma, while chondrosarcoma are resistant to chemoradiotherapy. So these are chemotherapy drugs that you want to give the patient before and after the surgery. And these are the methods of reconstruction, biological and non-biological. So just have a overlook of all the tumors first, all three. Osteosarcoma is the tumor characterized by the production of osteoid by malignant cells. The second most common primary malignant bone tumors are the bones, and 20% of primary bone. Listen, this is the second most common primary malignant bone tumor, and the most common non-biological malignant, because the most common primary malignant bone tumor is the hematological, and the most common non-hematological primary malignancy of bone. Incidence is 1:3 per million per year. I will show you again. Onset can occur at any age. Primary high-grade osteosarcoma occur most commonly in second decade of life. Periosteal osteosarcoma has a peak incidence in third and fourth decades of life. And there is another type, secondary osteosarcoma, that occur in patients undergoing radiation for other problems or patients having Paget's disease and they convert into secondary osteosarcoma. That comes after 40. It's more common in males, with the exception of periosteal osteosarcoma, which is more common in females, and common in patients with hereditary retinofibroblastima and other syndromes. So major sites for osteosarcoma are around the knee. 60% is around the knee, 15% is pelvis and proximal femur, 10% is proximal humerus, and 8% is around mandibular. An aggressive lesion in the metaphysis of large bone, 10% are primarily diaphyseal, less than 1% are epiphyseal. Remaining are metaphyseal lesions. Remaining are metaphyseal lesions. They can be blastic, they can be lytic, they can be mixed. So this is about the osteosarcoma. There are multiple types of osteosarcoma, but this is not for you people. So if you see the X-ray, you will find out the typical finding on X-ray. The Codman triangle or sunburst appearance or hair on end appearance. So see, these are the findings. You see the sunburst appearance all around this, just like a sun is appearing, with rays are appearing all around the femur. And see, this is the periosteal reaction in the femur as well. Sometimes this periosteal reaction elevated just like a triangle. So that is Codman triangle, and this is sunburst appearance. So see, and another finding is the posterior aspect of the femur with osteoblastic lesion in a female around 40 is most likely diagnosed as periosteal osteosarcoma. And basic Codman triangle is basically the periosteal reaction, new bone formation forms under the periosteum and elevates the periosteum and forms a triangle at the site of lesion. So this is indicative of new bone formation below the tumor or below the periosteum. So this is also indicative of osteosarcoma. So we have three typical findings. Number one, sunburst appearance. Number two, Codman triangle. Number three, hair on end appearance. So see, this is how it looks, sunburst appearance. Just like the sun rays are appearing out of this fibular tumor. So this is osteoblastic lesion involving the distal part of the fibula and some part of this tibia as well, and showing the sunburst appearance extending into the soft tissue with narrow zone of transition. So what is the treatment? Treatment, again, what we discussed. Treatment, what we discussed, they depend upon a stage. 1 and 2A, wide margin recession. 2B and 3 is limb salvage versus amputation, depend upon the expertise and discussion with the patient. Either limb salvage will be beneficial or not. So same slides what I have shown. Chondrosarcoma is second most common. So 9% of primary malignancies of the bone. It is the second most common non-hematological primary. Non-hematological most common is osteosarcoma. Non-hematological second most common is chondrosarcoma. And the broad range of age. It usually between age of 40 to 60 is primary, and secondary can occur between 20 to 25 to 40 years of age. So there are two types of chondrosarcoma: primary chondrosarcoma, secondary chondrosarcoma. Primary, there is no problem before this, and secondary, when patient is having multiple hereditary exostosis and they turn out to be converted into the chondrosarcoma. So sites, pelvis is the most common site. Other than that, pelvis, proximal femur, proximal humerus, hand, and slightly higher incidence in males as compared to the females. It is slow growing, and symptoms can present for several years. Can be primary and secondary. And secondary chondrosarcoma arise in patients with multiple enchondromas, multiple hereditary exostosis, Oliver disease, multiple enchondromas is about 25%, and patient with Mephosis syndrome. Mephosis syndrome is when patients having multiple enchondromas along with hemangiomas. So in these Mephosis syndrome, there's 100% chance of patient will develop secondary chondrosarcoma. While in X-ray, if you see, there was osteoblastic lesion involving the proximal humerus, and see these small popcorn appearance like lesions are visible in the proximal. So popcorn appearance or cauliflower-like appearance are the typical findings of chondrosarcoma in a bone. This is another patient. See, there was a huge mass arising from this proximal humerus, and this is also looks like to be a cauliflower-like appearance. So how to investigate? Again, same. After hematological and radiological investigation, MRI with contrast, CT scan test, and bone scan. After that, you need to do the surgery. What surgery? There is no role of chemotherapy, radiotherapy. It is chemo-resistant and radio-resistant. You only do the marginal wide margin resection and followed by reconstruction. And third one is Ewing sarcoma. And Ewing sarcoma is the third most common non-hematological malignancy. So first one is osteosarcoma, second one chondrosarcoma, third one is Ewing sarcoma. And the second most common after osteosarcoma in patients younger than 30. So it means osteosarcoma is most common in first 2 decades, and second one is Ewing. While the Ewing sarcoma is most common in first decade, first 10 years of age. The most common in patients younger than age is the most common is the age for Ewing sarcoma. And again, it's a 9% for primary bone maintenance. Most commonly involving the metaphysis of long bones and extending into the diaphysis. It also involves the flat bones of shoulder and pelvis. With the typical appearance of onion skin appearance in the bone. See the layers of multiple small layers appearing on X-ray. So this is called onion skin appearance on X-ray. These are typical findings for Ewing sarcoma. In these patients, there was a translocation of LN22, and this translocation is diagnosed in 90% of the cases. And there are recently there are other translocations as well. So, Ewing sarcoma are periodic acid strip positive because of their increased glycogen in their tumors, and they are reticular negative. So this is the point which differentiate Ewing sarcoma from lymphoma. And lymphoma are PAS negative, while lymphoma are reticular positive. So this is this immunohistochemically you can differentiate lymphomas from Ewing sarcoma. And lymphomas have more immunohistochemical markers like leukocyte, common antigen, and other than T and B cell antigen. And you need to see the prognosis. Worst prognostic factor is distant metastasis. Even with aggressive treatment, patients with metastasis have only 20% chances of long-term survival. So whatever you want to treat in AVIX, you should treat before this metastasis. And if you treat before the metastasis, it got the excellent prognosis. Another thing is Ewing sarcoma is radiosensitive. And yet some other reported the decreased rate of local survival less than 10%. So it's another important thing that is beneficial in treatment of Ewing sarcoma is radiosensitivity. So treatment again depend upon the staging. First neoadjuvant chemotherapy followed by surgery, marginal wide margin resection or amputation, and then again adjuvant chemotherapy. So anything you want to ask? So just to remember the basic things, you will solve your problems in your final year. You can ask the question. Intralenal means listen, the treatment intralenal means you want to remove the tumor from the lesion. Half of the lesion you will remove, half you left. This is called intralenal. So this is not the recommended treatment of the tumor and bone. It is crime nobody is doing in the world nowadays. Now you need to do marginal resection. Marginal resection means you need to see this bone is tumor is involving up to this area, so you want to remove this part and this part. So you need marginal resection. If you remove the tumor along with normal 2 to 3 centimeter of bone, say for 3 centimeter above, 3 centimeter down, then this is called wide margin resection. And radical means when you remove the whole bone, it's called radical resection. Treatment of, listen, the slides I have shown you. Okay, I will tell you the recycle bone. Now see, this is the protocol for all tumors. Neoadjuvant chemotherapy, then surgery, either marginal or wide margin resection, then chemotherapy. So these are the methods of reconstruction, biological non-biological. So recycle means you cut the bone, tumor bone, you put it into the liquid nitrogen, and after removing the tumor, reimplant it again. So that becomes tumor free and you can use this. So this is called recycle. Recycle can be done with liquid nitrogen, with autoclave, with pasteurization, different methods of doing recycling. Treatment for Ewing's and osteosarcoma, chondrosarcoma is same. While in chemo and radiotherapy is not for chondrosarcoma. Surgery is the only treatment. While in osteosarcoma, neoadjuvant first and then adjuvant chemotherapy. Hope you got the message. So again, see this. This is the lesion. So intralesional means you want to remove this only half of the tumor. Marginal means out of this tumor, with this margin of the tumor you want to remove. Red, wide margin means at least 2 to 3 centimeters of normal with the tumor. And radical means whole compartment. Any question you want to ask? I hope you got it. Thank you very much. Nobody is doing intralesional nowadays. Intralesional is abandoned around the world. So marginal and wide margin resection is required. No intralesional treatment nowadays. But it is mentioned in the junior book. That's why I just told you.